What is up, guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing all right today. We're going to be discussing a topic that I think is it's kind of known by collectors, but I think it's something that I want to make sure that if you are new to watch collecting, you really do focus on this part of the watch journey, because it is vital for the success, if you want to define it as success. But I think it is vital for you to enjoy watches if you do this one step correctly, and that is making sure that you really focus on researching watches before you end up buying them, or if you're just getting into them, doing as much research as you possibly can. And so I'm going to be discussing 5 reasons why I think researching watches is a really good thing for you to do, and it's never really something that starts and stops. It's going to be a continuous thing that goes on throughout your watch journey. So I'll discuss 5 reasons why I think researching watches is a good thing, and I would love to hear what you guys think about it in the comment section below. But before we get into my 5 reasons why I think researching watches is a really great thing when it comes to watch, if you are a watch enthusiast, be sure to hit that like button for us. It really does help us out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like these types of videos. So I think the first thing that's really important about researching watches is at the start of your watch collecting or watch interest, and that is you're going to be able to figure out what you like and what you do not like about specific types of watches. And I'm talking specifically with this one, I'm really just calling out understanding what types of features aesthetic features you like about watches, whether that is how the watch looks, or how the watch is made, or how the watch feels when it's on your wrist. Those are the types of things that you can get out of researching watches. So figuring out what you do and do not like is something very important when it comes to collecting watches, because for the most part, these are luxury goods. You are going to be spending quite a bit of money on watches if you are interested in them, and that quite a bit of money can be $200 on a wristwatch, it can be $50 on a wristwatch, whatever it is. A watch is a luxury no matter what price point, so you want to make sure that you know exactly what you do and do not like when it comes to watches. I mentioned you're able to explore the different types of aesthetics that you like about watches. So do you like watches that are a little bit more sporty? Do you like watches that are a little bit more dressy? Researching watches and seeing a bunch of watches come through your Instagram feed, or the types of websites you read, that is going to allow you to kind of gauge what types of aesthetics you like. Movements, if you are someone who's really into the mechanics behind these watches, researching watches on an ongoing basis allows you to dig deeper into how watch movements are manufactured and put together, and the finishing, different types of finishing that can be used on the movements, and in-house versus non-in-house. Those are the types of things that you'll pick up when you're researching watches, and you can decide where you kind of land on that. And then I also spoke about how watches feel on your wrist. I think this is something that's very important if you are an enthusiast of watches and you plan on creating a collection. You want to try on as many watches as you possibly can. So going to a dealer and strapping on a couple watches and seeing how it fits on your specific wrist and feeling the weight of the watch, those are the types of things that are going to be important for you to figure out, like I said, what you do and do not like when it comes to watches. So that's the first reason. The second reason is I think you'll be able to know the entire history of the watch that you're looking to buy or looking to get interested in. You'll be able to understand the entire history of it. I think what's really great about the internet now and Instagram and a lot of these manufacturers is that they have started to release documentation or document the histories of their watches. So you can go and read about the history of the Rolex Submariner, or you can go and see the history about the Omega Seamaster, or see the archives of Cartier, or see the beautiful history of Vacheron Constantin. With all this information at our fingertips, you can really see where your watch has really been and where it is now, see the progression of how it's kind of developed over the years, and ultimately this is going to allow you to have a really great understanding about that specific watch. I think this is going to help you gain an appreciation for the watch, but that it also leads into my third reason why I think researching watches is really important, and that is you can catch problems with the watch that that are inconsistent with the history that you've researched. So if you are looking to buy a watch, a lot of the times you're trying to find one that's in all original condition and is the piece that you want to add to your collection. It has become a little bit harder to find all original pieces with no replacement parts or original dials, original hands. And there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to the watch that you're wanting to purchase. If you know the entire history of that specific watch that you've done extensive research on, you'll be able to identify when a replacement dial has been used or a replacement hand has been used, or it looks like the case has been polished, or the case metal isn't actually correct, so this must be a Franken watch. So understanding the history of the watch allows you to catch those mistakes, and that means that your journey through watch collecting won't be as plagued with those little things that may upset you about the watch that you ended up purchasing because you thought it was all original. So my third reason, just to reiterate, is you can catch the problems with watches by knowing the entire history, which is our second point. The fourth reason, and this is I think a really big thing when it comes to collecting watches, and that is you'll be able to find a community of really knowledgeable people that you can reference along your watch collecting journey. As an example, I know that the Omega vintage watch market is something that's very, very enticing for a lot of people because there's a lot of value in vintage Omegas. Also, the aesthetics of the watches are really in line with what a lot of people like about watches. And so people tend to buy vintage Omegas very often. I know from personal experience, the amount of information out there about vintage Omega Seamasters is immense, and it really just keeps going and going and going. If you do have questions about a specific reference on Omega, from Omega, or you've purchased something and you think something's off, referencing that knowledgeable group of people can really allow you to answer some of the questions that may seem too complex for you to figure out. I think there's always going to be an answer out there when it comes to vintage watches, for the most part, because people are so knowledgeable about the watches that they actually are collecting. So also, I think the community aspect of watch collecting is a very big part of why people get into the hobby. I think there's some really interesting people out there that have a great knowledge about watches, and joining those types of communities is really important. And that's kind of why Life on the Wrist is around, is because I wanted to create that type of community for those of you who are interested in being a part of it. So yeah, you can find a community of really knowledgeable people. And then I think the last one, and this is kind of just a catch-all when you really think about it, but I think it's worth noting, is that I think it's going to get you really, really excited about your next watch purchase, the next watch you're interested in researching, or the next watch you're interested in learning about, or the next movement you want to study. Doing research allows you to kind of get right into the topic and answer the questions that you have about something, and hear people talk about these watches that you really, really are interested in. And I think it also, allows you to realize that you are actually buying something that's much greater than just the piece of metal that's going to be sitting on your wrist. You're buying much more. You're buying the history of that specific reference. You're buying the history of the brand. You're also buying the story of that specific watch, which is something that at Life on the Wrist, of course, according to the name, we really are interested in the life of every single specific watch that is in the market, right? So let's say there was a chronograph that someone used to time car races that they used to partake in. You're buying the history of that specific watch as well, and it allows you to realize that it's not just a piece of metal. There's so much more that you're ending up getting involved in. So I don't know, it gets you really excited, and I think that's why we have a hobby of watches. So those are my 5 reasons. Just to reiterate, the first one is to figure out what you do and do not like. The second reason is you can know the entire history of the watch before you end up buying it. The third is you can catch problems or mistakes that may occur in that watch so that you don't get burned by your purchase. The fourth is you can find communities of really knowledgeable people that you can reference if you do have questions about the watch that you're interested in. And the fifth reason is it can get you really excited about watches and makes you understand that you're buying much more than just a piece of metal that's going to sit on your wrist. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you have any other reasons why you think researching watches is extremely important, leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what some of the reasons you think researching watches are. I think if you are on this video, you are probably researching watches, so good on you for taking that step, and I hope this kind of adds to your watch collecting journey. Also, if you did not do it in the beginning of the video, be sure to smash that like button for us for these 5 reasons that I think researching watches are really important for. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.